This is the Between Extraordinary, Part 22, the beginning of our final confrontation with Gesod, High Imperator of Venus. We have been off for a few months, like 5-ish months, a while, but we're all caught up on the story, and we're going to do our best to make it super coherent with what came in the previous 21 sessions. But, if it's not, that's okay. It's the art of role-playing games. It doesn't have to be perfect as much as I would like for it to be. We've already sort of recapped a little bit off camera, so I'm just going to dive right in. Title card. Venus. Present day. We see an enormous Colosseum. Blue and green-skinned Venusians in their elaborate purple and gold and red costumes are filling the stands of this Colosseum, cheering, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." We're looking up from the vantage point of you all down in the Colosseum, looking up into the Imperial box where Gesod is. His voice is magnified. It carries out across the Colosseum. What fools you are, thinking that this would be your moment to strike, using the celebration of our gladiatorial games to get close to me for your assassination. But there is, of course, the matter of Astagoth, the Star Devourer. And even if you are able to defeat Astagoth, the Star Devourer, you would have to get past my impenetrable force field. And even if you are able to get past my impenetrable force field, you have to contend with my disintegration ray. And even if you are able to contend with my disintegration ray and destroy me, there is the little matter of my legacy, my daughter, who will continue my campaign across the cosmos. Your petty revenge will have been just that. You will have accomplished nothing. And so, barbarian prince, let us begin the games. And they raise the gate. And in the inky blackness, in the subterranean pen, you hear the roaring of Astagoth, the Star Devourer. And then we cut away. Title card, London, 1 year ago. As part of his agreement with Lady Florence, Gesod used Venusian technology to send out a signal across London that would make everyone, including the Queen, think that Resplendent and the various Venusian crafts that hovered over London were nothing more than a strange weather anomaly. There is, of course, the matter of all of the Venusians themselves who were wandering about, presumably taking pictures with Londoners. There's all this evidence of Venusians. But that's where the Man in the Sun Mask and Ms. Balakwa come in, hosting elaborate cosmology-themed balls. They became the toast of the town, holding these extravagant balls where the attendees wore masks shaped like the planets, clothing inspired by speculative outer space fashion. And over the course of a year and dozens of social events like this, the people of London are convinced that all of these so-called Venusians were just eccentrics in costume, dedicated as they were to the stars. And then, of course, all that Venusian technology, well, that was a simple enough matter. This is where Scotland Yard comes in, gathering up automatons and robots and weird whirly-gigs and devices, and dropping them into the bottom of the Thames, which I'm sure won't be a problem later. And London was healed. Gesod, not even a memory. Although some people will never stop believing in what really happened. You all, of course, know what really happened. Title card. Venus. 6 months ago. Lady Florence, the last we saw you were in your palace on Venus, amid the disassembled portal that you used to travel the stars back in the day. This is how you are going to bring your fellow former Hargrave House hunters to Venus to help you deal with Gesod once and for all. And so you carry on for months, making social appearances, working on your portal in secret, understanding better the threat that Gesod truly poses. He cares nothing for Earth, but there are many other planets and star systems to conquer. There are many other civilizations that could fall like Mars fell. In his megalomania, he's become quite paranoid. And in the months leading up to the present day, he's very, very hard to get an audience with, even for you, Lady Florence. And in the weeks leading up to the present day, you never see him again. The only time he makes an appearance is in the occasional gladiatorial contests that he presides over. And so this is the very nature of our threat. 4 questions, each a complexity 2. Each has to be answered in order and accomplished in order, except every time you answer a question and resolve the question, you'll be doing it in flash forward to that moment in the arena. The first question: what is the weakness of Astagoth, the Star Devourer? Because you will have to deal with him. Resolution or opportunity: defeat Astagoth, the Star Devourer. Second question: how do we defeat Gesod's force field or otherwise get around it? Opportunity, fairly straightforward there. Third question: how do we disable his disintegration ray so that it's not a danger to you? Opportunity, do so. And then the subtler fourth question: how do we convince his daughter to not carry on his legacy, making this victory an entirely Pyrrhic one? Each is a complexity 2. You only need 1 clue to make a stab at them. Another special rule for this particular threat is, since we're going to be playing in flashback, if your character has to mark the blood-soaked portal, we will see their death in the flash forward at the arena. So know that. title card. Venus, 3 days ago. Lady Florence bringing Hargrave House to Venus. We're going to take a 10-minute break so you all can think about, Mike, what does that look like? And the rest of you, your grand entrance onto Venus. What does it look like? How do we see you? It's been a year. How have you changed? How do you respond? So let's take 10. Lady Florence, how do you get the gang back together?
Um, I think it is night on Venus, whatever that is. Maybe it's very brief. I don't know what the day cycles are on that planet. Whatever they are, we'll say that they're very brief or very long or whatever the case is. It's in the middle of that. When no one's around because this portal is in the center of the city. And I don't think Lady Florence has really tested this out, other than knowing that she can transport to Mars. So she's got some confidence that it essentially works. She's got her little piglet, which is somehow tied to that pig's weird god thing that's talking to her along the way. And
Mock.
Mock. And uh so I think it's like as much as this is like black magic and dark evil things that are going on here, I think there's also just like one of those big levers that she has to pull, kind of Frankenstein style. And so she grabs this thing and she looks at the little piglet. It's time. And it goes, yes, yes. She pulls pulls the lever, uh, and I think it's the pig is calling out the symbols, and says, "First, let there be blood," and then I will go to Dom for that.
I think Dom is when we last saw Dom, he had left Hargrave House to live a normal life with the Slugger, somewhere else, somewhere far from London and the Venusians and all that. But I think when we see Dom, he is walking through the darkened city streets of some other city. His knife is out. It's covered in blood. Apparently, domesticity didn't take. And when that portal opens beneath him and he suddenly finds himself somewhere else, there's a moment of surprise, a moment of shock, and then just clear irritation on his features. He is not impressed.
Dom, you need to turn that wheel right now. Turn it. There's like one of those like lever things with the I don't know what they're called. You know, the handle is on attached to the wheel. We need it. Go, go, go.
And he'll just go, but he's just what is that? He'll
The
say,
crank! It's a crank! Just turn the crank!
ugh, and he'll turn the crank.
And the little piglet goes, Water, the boy. And we go to Jakob.
Oh man,
I can't
there's
deal
a
with this pig. It's too much.
yeah, yeah. I already wrote down a star for the pig. The pig's amazing. Um, there's a brief sort of montage of a few days of Jakob kind of passing through Hargrave House and like paging through some journals that Lady Florence left behind and seeing some family photos on the wall and kind of questioning like is that who I think that is in the photo? I don't know. Then he's going through his items in his personal quarters, sort of thumbing over the rock from Mars and the radio that only works when he's around, and kind of listening to that radio. He's like, oh, here it comes. Like I kind of hear that radio summons, like the maybe it's little like glimpses of the gladiatorial barkers like announcing the fights, and I'm like, oh man, here we go. Kind of look around the room, and I see those Venusian invasion gauntlets. I guess might be time. Grab the Venusian invasion gauntlets and kind of, I don't know, strap them to my waist somehow. Seems gauche to arrive wearing them. And I just wait. I know it's coming, and then like whoop, and there I am, and I step through, and even though I'm an adult, I'm still kind of coming to terms with who my mom is, and in a voice that is definitely that teenager who wanted to do another thing rather than spend family time. I say, Mom.
My son, the heir of the Wilton Davies Trench, I need you to hold this right now. And gesture over to Jakob to hold the handle. And I said, there's one more. And I pull it's probably Admiral Flagg's saber is what I'm going to use for this. Out of my cloak, and I walk over to the pig and I say, and finally, the queen of Hargrave House. And I slit the pig's throat and toss its body into the portal, and then we go to Victoria.
So we see Victoria in an interior antechamber of the Buckingham Palace, and she is suspended mid-air above a roiling, kind of misty, dark fog. And she has cast her arms out and she's looking up to the sky, her face and torso covered in a golden linked veil. And there is, you can see light glowing behind her closed eyes. And then suddenly a dead piglet smacks her clear in the face and she falls backwards into a portal and stumbles, tumbling over her limbs, roiling massive energy, fog spilling off of her now prone body on a stone altar on the planet Venus. What on earth was that?
And Lady Florence says, and scene.
Indeed, indeed. You have the equivalent of 3 Earth days until the gladiatorial games where you will strike Gesod the only time he makes himself even slightly vulnerable, and even then there's several layers of defense. No one has ever been able to defeat Astagoth the Star Devourer. And so if you hope to use the arena as a way of proximity, which you are going to do, you're going to have to deal with Astagoth. That is the first matter. But any clues you find can apply to any of the questions, obviously, but they will be answered and resolved in order in Flash Forward. And so you have access to Gesod's palace and access to the compound where the Colosseum and other royal imperial things are. I have some thoughts about what is contained here, but I'm really interested in sort of your thoughts in like what sorts of places you might like to go to investigate these problems, to figure things out. Each of these questions is only a complexity 2. They're very simple. There's just a lot of them, and you have to answer a question 4 times. That's the trouble, right? So that's the real difficulty here.
Can I ask if there's a Venusian zoo or a bestiary?
I think there's like a
an
menagerie. Yeah, there's almost certainly a menagerie. Yeah, I think it probably somewhere on the imperial grounds. There's a menagerie, of course. Yeah, I love that. Is that where you're headed?
Don't know. I'm just imagining places at this
Oh,
point.
okay, sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Do we want to?
steam baths?
I also want to note. Yeah, I love that. I do want to note that at this point, you can clear any conditions you wish that you had previously. You can keep any you want, but you can also clear them as you wish. It's been a year, so your characters are changed, and we can have a scene with you all together figuring out your plan if you want, but out of character, the plan is pretty straightforward, so I'll leave that up to you all. So just role play as you will, and eventually tell me where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and then we'll get it going. So.
I do have, I don't know, a question I feel like I need to role play through to some extent is sort of like, how do we know that we are bound to be in the arena? Like we
It's
just
a
came
good
through a
point.
portal.
I
Here
think
we
it's really
are.
simple. Lady Florence, you've just surmised this. Like, it's the only time Gesod even makes an appearance anymore. So he's become so paranoid. So, yeah.
So we're voluntarily going to be at the arena because that's our place to fight him, or we are going to be like combatants in there because we're like under house arrest or something.
The flash forward made it seem like you were going to be combatants in the arena somehow. So, yeah.
Okay, Lady Florence, you're going to have to tell me one more time. So, this is Venus. Fine. What on earth? Hi, Dom.
Hello. First off, second, there is nothing fine about this. Couldn't get a letter before being summoned to this other planet, Lady Florence?
I give him a little like that soft kind of like punch on the shoulder. You wouldn't have read a letter anyway, Dom.
Not as soon as I saw it was from you.
I mean, it's just really fortuitous that Venus contains perfectly breathable air and everyone speaks English. So, beggars can't be choosers here.
So we simply need to find Gesod and kill him. Easy.
Well, it sounds like the only opportunity that we are going to have is in the arena.
Good. Great. Perfect.
No, he won't be fighting. He's just going to be I'm assuming there's a box. How is this going to work, Lady Florence? Do you want us to aren't we going to be very noticeable?
This is
Human?
why I brought you all here. This particular thing is not the plotting and the planning and the scheming, as you know, is sort of my specialty, but actually doing things, that's more of your business.
Jakob takes in a deep inhalation and puts his hands on his hips in a pose that almost foreshadows Superman, but breathes in and says, God, this place smells worse than I expected. And then at the mention of the word arena, looks over at Lady Florence and says, Gambling again, Mom. Is it us this time? Did you put us on the line?
Brilliant. I may have lost a bet or two that put us into this predicament, but I assure you that it was all part of my master plan here.
No, I'm sorry. You put us in this predicament? It seems like you were in this predicament.
Why me? I left.
I was perfectly content.
It made you all the perfect candidates for the situation. We can't pull anyone out of important dealings within London, and you all had faded from the spotlight a bit. So it's a good way to wager the future without risking London itself in the present.
Reports are coming in every day about some new planet or some new colony that has fallen to Gesod. The incredible amounts of death and destruction, the sort of shackling of previously free peoples. He's a bad guy. And just because he has an agreement right now vis-a-vis Earth doesn't mean that's going to hold up forever, especially because he started to ignore Lady Florence. And I think he's probably going to forget his agreement with Lady Florence at some point. So there's that.
Oh, before I forget, this was a lovely gift, but it sounds like you'll need to make use of it. And I'll offer Dominic back his blade Remus that I have been wearing Wonder Woman's.
Aww.
Dom will smile at it and say, "Oh, that's very kind, Victoria. Thank you." And he will take it back.
Well, for the time being, you have the ability to roam around as you wish. Presumably, you will have some local fashions to help you blend in. probably not a great idea, Jakob, to go announcing your presence here on Venus to anyone if you can avoid it. Let's just go around the table and figure out how everybody wants to start figuring out the some of these basic problems that Lady Florence has identified, or will have to, or it could be that you're not aware of these problems yet. It's just in the flash forward, you put 2 and 2 together and you've solved the problem, right? So you're just generally trying to figure out how to stop Gesod, right? So what do you think?
Got a
Ms.
quick question.
Balakwa?
Is it going to be up to us to define the physique of Astrogoth, the star devourer?
No, I have
You
I
got a
have
plan?
that.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. You'll have to in the moment. When you're ready to
Okay.
flash forward to the arena.
right.
Figure that out. So,
I
Ms.
would be
Balakwa, how do
keen,
you want to start?
I would be keen to try and see if I could use my attunement to the fragrant void to try and literally get a better view of this new place and what I could glean from that. Because some of my moves are very London specific, but that one isn't.
That's true. Yeah, why don't we remind ourselves how this move goes? This is Void Walker.
Void Walk.
Yeah.
When I use an object of power to attune to the fragrant void, I roll with sensitivity. On a hit, I travel to the fragrant void and gain keen insight to a threat of my choice. In this case, then the keeper reveals 2 clues.
Indeed.
On
Very
a 10
good.
plus, no entity from the void will disturb me. On a miss, I unmark my cosmic passage and then cross it off my sheet.
Oh, I love it. That's really good. That sounds like a great start. What about you, Dominic?
Is the kind of arena games thing something we would be able to get information about, like a?
Sure. Yeah.
I think he'll be looking into that. Maybe if there's a a Venusian library or archive, maybe see how past games have gone.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah. Jakob?
All right. I am, I don't know. I realize where I am and I'm kind of a little salty about it. I'm sure that somewhere here there's going to be some Venusian like mosaic glorifying their conquest of Mars and all that garbage. And I've read the Venusian holy text, "The sun rises in the west," and so I'm kind of out there to see the Venusian version of the conquest of Mars with the sense of reclaiming some Martian heritage and finding Venusian weakness.
Oh, so but specifically looking at murals and mosaics, I like that. That's really good. Lady Florence, what about you?
I feel like I would go back to whatever casino I set up this sort of wager in to try and get a little bit more context for what we'll be doing, essentially what I got us into.
I love it. Why don't we start with Dominic in the Colosseum archives? I think they probably keep a record of a very detailed record of, like various combatants and different payments that were made and all that kind of thing, right? And because it's an arena where ostensibly it's all kinds of off-worlders fighting, not Venusians, you should be able to like intermingle pretty easily in that space, because you could just be like, oh, I'm just a guy who's here to get killed by Astagoth the Star Devourer. So we'll flash forward to you in this sort of subterranean, classic sci-fi subterranean gladiator, pit with, there's probably like, all kinds of people like, kind of foul smelling and greasy, kind of roaming around. You can hear in the darkness like the roaring and snapping of various creatures and monsters, and but also you can hear camaraderie of gladiators, relaxing and all that kind of thing, letting off some steam. How do you look right now? How have you presented yourself?
I think he's got his white shirt that is a little yellowed by the Venusian dust, and black pants. He's got shoes completely inappropriate for combat or action, but he's strapped on some Venusian armor, perhaps nothing like crazy, just like a chest plate and maybe arm protection. He's trying to look the part.
Things are generally as I've described it. Where do you go?
Let's go hang out with those gladiators. See if they have any information that could be useful.
Let's paint the scene. As you step into this sort of like common area with all these gladiators from various species and planets, what do we see that shows that despite these violent and extreme circumstances they're in, they are a brotherhood / sisterhood of warriors?
I think there is a little makeshift altar that they have built up and added to as their numbers have fallen to commemorate them.
I think there's uh like a table or a ledge that has all of these I don't know if it would necessarily be wax on Venus, but they hand carve fallen gladiators, little figures of them as candles. And so there's just this ledge that has all of these candles that are burning, and each one is kind of in the form of an abstract form of a particular gladiator that has fallen.
I think you can see a group of 5 or 6 collected individuals of varying species getting ready for the next fight, training and whatnot. And amongst them, you can see somebody swaps this bracer for that plate for this sort of scarf, and they start armoring each other and trading weapons and armor in order to get everybody equally prepared as best they can.
And then the bunk room in the barracks, everybody has some sort of sleeping hammock, but they've taken the bones and the cartilage and the carapaces from fallen warriors and kind of made them into these ossuaries. So each person is sleeping in a kind of a hammock that's surrounded by the remnants of fallen gladiators.
Fantastic. I think a warrior with a single eye like a cyclops turns to you and says, "Ah, you must be new."
Yes, very new. Too new.
You're
So new, I wish I wasn't here.
Well, you're a bit scrawny for the games, I'd say, but I can tell that you have the keen edge of a warrior in your heart.
Also a couple in my hand, so be careful who you call scrawny.
Ah, I meant no offense, friend. And he says, just means you're quicker, right?
And what do they call you?
And I have not thought of a name. Let me get a name real quick. I am called Palum. Palum the Merciless.
I like that. That's good. How do I get one of those?
Ah, you have to be blooded in battle. You have to win a fight or two before you earn the right of a sobriquet.
Good. Well, I'll put that on the list then. The games here, the upcoming games, is this a yearly thing or just a special event?
I think at this point you can go ahead and make the information move. Almost certainly with, actually I'm going to say vitality, because your physicality is your entree into this conversation in a sense.
Then that's 6.
Good start. All right. It was a 6. You have vitality 3.
Yeah, and I rolled 3.
Oh no.
Oh no, Dom is scrawning.
I think at this point, you will hear over your shoulder, "Hey, I recognize you." And you will see another combatant with the body of a serpent approaching you. Now, I can't remember if you killed that serpentine warrior or not. Maybe this is his cousin, who knows? But you see a warrior that reminds you very much of the one like you fought on Resplendent, and he looks angry. What do you do?
He'll turn and he'll say, "Ah, yes, I killed one of you."
He says, "I owe you. I must pay a debt of vengeance from my fallen comrade." And he like rises up, his massive serpentine bulk coiling around you.
Dom's gonna turn to his one-eyed friend and say, "Will this get me a sobriquet?"
He says, if you can defeat Karnak, the inevitable, I think you will have earned your title, friend."
Very good.
This is going to be, I think because you're in a subterranean place, it's going to be the night move, unless you want to use your brand new move.
I have to do a night move to activate that, so.
Oh, yeah, read us your new move so we all know what we're doing here.
So my custom move is the best there is at what he does, and whenever I start combat using Romulus or Remus, his twin blades, to commit extreme violence, any further rolls for the combat for me or anyone else using his blades are day moves instead of night moves.
Okay, very good. So if it like goes to multiple rounds, basically, that's pretty good. What do you afraid is going to happen with this battle with Karnak, brother of Tarnak?
I don't think Dom even thinks of the possibility of dying here. It's just he'll be embarrassed.
It's worse than that. You'll also die. Go ahead and roll with vitality.
That's better. That's a 10.
Okay, very good. Think about your battle with Karnak, and we'll come back to this. Let's pick up with Jakob. Jakob, you're looking at this plaza that's filled with mosaics and painted murals and statuary. All of it is a propagandistic, poem to the greatness of Venus, and in particular High Imperator Gesod. Let's paint the scene, everyone. In what ways do the murals whitewash Venus's atrocities?
I do feel like there's at least one half of a mural dedicated to, instead of these great glowing kind of portraiture done as I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the actual name of our mastermind for a second. It just fled. Thank you. It fled my brain. It was disturbing. Okay, so you see Gesod in these like grand.
That's what happened to London too, so don't worry about it. It's a whole thing.
It was residual. But at least one half of the mural is dedicated to all of the grateful faces of all of the different species that are just arms outstretched in loving looks cast to Gesod in a classic greeted as liberators kind of thing.
I think if we could read the Venusian script, every piece of text would be referring to this as an operation of freedom and expanding liberty.
I
It's
think
in,
in the
it's
sort
in
of
English, so it shouldn't be any trouble. Just for its
Sure,
in like the epilogue section of the murals, if there would be one, you see Venusians that are like planting seeds across the red rocky landscape of Mars. And then the final frame is just these giant sequoia trees everywhere across the planet. And it really looks beautiful and natural and calming.
Yeah, I've got something similar in the environmental vein. Um, the destruction of Martian civilization is cast as a way of preserving the habitat of the rare sedimentary red worm that was only found on Mars. And all the Martian canal digging, according to this mural, was destroying their habitat. And Gesod, understanding the importance of these tiny worms to the ecosystem, destroyed the Martians to preserve these worms. And Jakob's there looking at it like, first, those are a delicacy. Second, we were sustainably farming them. Like ticking off on my multiple fingers all the different ways this is wrong.
Jakob, you can go ahead and make a information move with composure, I would say, actually, as you look at these false narratives.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's a 5.
A 5. You hear 2 sets of heavy mechanical stomping footsteps. And you see a pair of robots, very similar to the one you already know, 127, except this is 356 and 894. And they are approaching you. What do you do?
That's 2 robots, 356 and 894.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good thing I've got 4 limbs in my pure Martian form.
Indeed. You gonna do battle with the robots? You gonna run? How are you gonna deal with it? Or just maybe see what they want? I don't know. It's up to you.
I think it'd be kind of fun to have like a little I don't know, a little Martian revenge, a little like leave some destruction here.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Well, let's get a die roll going. I think the robots, like, they challenge you. One of them says, "You there. You're not supposed to be here. You do not belong in the Victory Plaza."
You know how soldiers get the patches for the different and the badges for the different bits of service. These robots both have the like I was in the Martian invasion force badge, whatever that looks like. And that just sets me off. I'm like, you and you. Been looking for you too.
What do you do?
I'm gonna like do a brief sort of like glance around, make sure nobody's hopefully within eyesight, and then like let my limbs kind of rip apart in their sort of splitting fashion that they do, and try and grab them and dash them against the walls and make full use of my vault of the 4 limbs.
I love it. That
Basically,
sounds.
Hammer of Gontos is probably going to come down in this.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about that. Let's pull up your character really quick because I need to be reminded of the Vault of the 4 Limbs.
Yeah.
You have the Shield of Korathor and the Hammer of Gontos. The Hammer of Gontos can sunder any object. I love it. All right, let's just go ahead and do a day move. What do you think is going to happen if you fail?
And I'm not as strong as I think, and these robots take me captive and tie me up and leave me in the arena or whatever.
Let's go ahead and roll with Vitality.
All right. 11.
Nice. Be thinking about what your combat looks like. Let's check in with Lady Florence. I think that there is a casino where the wealthy jet set Venusians play at all hours of the day. As you go inside and as we do our Tarantino-esque tracking shot across the casino, let's paint the scene, everyone. What do we see that shows these Venusians are not like other Venusians?
There's like a bar within the casino, like part of the floor that you go through these like tendrils of light in order to strings with little lights on them to get inside. And once you pass inside, you can see that there's this like center court of this bar, and there are just Venusians, and they are uh, served almost like a full fish. There's other Venusians that they are just eating and just like pulling the meat off the ribs.
Okay, well, behind that grisly, gristly nightmare, I think you see a group of maybe 10 or 12 people gathered in a semicircle around what looks like a glowing, some version of four-dimensional chess. And the two players are quite literally levitating up and down the structure in order to move the pieces almost telepathically. They have powers.
I think they are dressed like they've all ordered out of the fanciest catalogs from London in this year. They have fully adopted Earth fashion because it is new and exotic.
And in that same vein, they're passing along forbidden literature, kind of like under the table, beneath a napkin, sort of that like, oh, I'm so sorry I bumped into you. And then they slide a book into the pocket of the other person, and they're all Earth books, like forbidden Earth literature here on Venus.
The idea that Lady Chatterley's lover is also banned here is so good.
I love it. Lady Florence, one of your social rivals, maybe social frenemies, her name is Veneri. She sees you. She says, "Ah, Lady Florence.
Veneri! Did not
S-
expect to see you at this hour.
Still wearing the local fashions? Didn't you know that everyone is in London chic these days?" And she kind of like turns to show her bustle.
Oh, I suppose I have a few things that I could dust off.
Yes, yes. So, have you come here to lose another wager?
Quite the opposite, but
I do look forward to seeing who you will be forced to present at the arena. I didn't know
it
you kept a menagerie here on planet.
you know the history of me. I always keep a menagerie or two and a spare one in my pocket.
Hmm. Well, and then she kind of goes in for um, a bit of Venusian. They're alive. They keep them alive while they dine on them. It's a very complex medical process. What can I do for you? I didn't think you'd have the nerve to show your face here again.
I do remember, what was that, 8 months ago or so, you had sent some combatants into the ring,
Hmm.
and I believe quite impressively came as close as anyone that I've ever seen. Um, I do feel like there was maybe a little chicanery under the surface there, and I would be interested to get a little bit of that advantage on my side.
Nice. Do the information move with presence.
Um, can I? Could I make this a game with her? Like, could we
Sure.
play poker?
Oh yeah. Does that give you some kind of advantage on the die
I've
roll?
got the Queen of Hearts, and so I think I wanna like cheat at the game. Like that's
Oh,
partly why I was coming
okay.
to the casino,
Oh, got it. Got it.
is to try and like essentially make a bet out of it.
Mm.
Maybe to sweeten it up beyond what she would normally give me.
I'm into that. Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
that works for me. Yeah. So you're rolling with advantage then?
Yeah,
All right.
trying to run this character to the husk. That is with presence is going to be a 9.
A 9. You will get your clue. We'll come back to this. Ms. Balakwa. You're in the fragrant void. That silvery gray expanse, punctuated with towering gold-flecked black pillars that represent the various worlds and timelines that one can travel to if one knows how. Let's go ahead and make your die roll.
Oh, how I've missed Victoria. That's an 8 plus 6, or 8 plus 3. It's a
Nice.
12.
8 plus 3 is a
No,
11. Indeed. Well, you only need a 10 anyway on this move.
8 plus 3 is enough.
Yeah, absolutely. You get your 2 clues, and no entity from the void will disturb you. We're going to start with your clues, and then we'll go around to the other characters. The one thing you're going to learn really quickly upon entering the fragrant void is that what was his name? I already forgot his name.
Astagoth.
Astagoth, the Star Devourer, exists in the fragrant void. He's a creature of it. And your first clue, even though you can't make out his true form, he just appears as a sort of vague, shadowy shape. You can
like a large, milky sort of Leviathan kind of.
Yeah. You'll see that he actually touches multiple black pillars at the same time, meaning he exists in multiple places and realities at once. That's your first clue.
Okay.
Your second clue. This one's slightly more unusual. You hear this strange hum, a vibration, a vibrating hum, almost like subsonic in your ears. You've never heard this in the fragrant void before, but you hear it now. That's your clue.
It's like sensing an earthquake. Victoria kind of crouches down and presses her ear to the pillar and tries to attune to all of this, realizing that it must be part of the beast because it's never been here before.
It could be part of the beast. It could connect up to any of the questions, to be honest. But
oh,
yeah,
yes,
it doesn't necessarily.
The clues we'll gather, and the questions we
Yeah.
have to answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go back to Mr. Constantine. Please go ahead and describe how you defeat Karnak.
I think at first Dom wants to kind of just get it over with, but when he realizes that the other gladiators are watching, he needs to make a show of this if he's going to earn a title. So he allows Karnak to kind of look like he maybe has an edge here before just he starts out fighting with one blade, and then it's like he remembers, oh wait. And then he grabs Remus, and with the both blades, he makes a cut from about midway up his snaky hide and just up towards his chest, kind of filleting Karnak. And then as Karnak tumbles to the ground and starts bleeding out, he just turns around, sheathes his knives, and says, "So about that sobriquet."
The Merciless, Palum the Merciless says, I think you shall be... Well, I assume you tell him your first name.
Yeah.
Dominic, the Two-Limbed.
But I have 4
Do you have 4?
legs count.
The Two-Armed.
Martian anatomy makes everything confusing.
It does indeed.
Fair. Well, that's it's a little on the nose, but I suppose it's a start.
It does make you stand out because almost everybody else here has multiple arms, or more than 2. So it's meant as a sign of your prowess that you need only 2 arms to dispatch such foes as Karnak.
You can fight
The
with 4
six-armed.
arms tied behind your back.
Exactly, right. I'm going to give you a clue as well. Palum says, if you fight like that in the arena, you may be invited to be brought before the High Imperator himself to kiss his ring.
Yes, that is absolutely what I would do.
That's your clue. That some warriors are allowed to kiss Gesod's ring. Jakob, please describe how you defeat the robots.
All right. So my limbs have split asunder. I'm in sort of full Martian form here, something that would be just a horrid spectacle to most of Victorian London. But here on Venus, it's I don't know, an alien of a different variety. But as I'm sort of grappling with these robots and bashing them against each other and smashing them into walls, it's the hammer of Gantos is sort of summoning itself through my arms rather than this external force. It's almost more internal at this point. But I'm noticing their emblems and taking out years of frustrated Martian memories and aggression. With like, I see from your emblem you were at the Battle of Mons Tharsastolis. That's for my cousin. And then, I see you were at the Canal of Chrysoros. That's for my aunt. And, slamming back and forth in this hallway. The mosaics are splintering everywhere. And as it kind of like calms down, the dust settles, the robots are like sparking and fizzling out. The text in the mosaic with a generous eye, it still says the Venusian propaganda that it once said, but there's little fragments that are broken out and left. And if you can read Venusian, there's just enough to make out what looks like it might say the word lies across the propaganda. And then I kind of dust off my limbs and sort of straighten my attire and walk away like nothing happened and just leave these rubbled robots in the hallway.
Nice. I love it. Lady Florence, what'd you get on your die roll?
Mixed 9 or something. Yeah.
You get your clue, but a complication with your clue. Your complication is as the stakes are getting raised, as all that is happening, as the game is progressing. I think the complication is that At one point, during one hand, she wants to throw in an additional wager whereby the winner of that single hand,
Oh.
the winner of that single hand will have to, if you lose the hand, your entrant into the arena to fight Astagoth will have to do so with a disadvantage of her choosing. And she wins that hand. And so we'll note this, that whoever is going to be fighting Astagoth is going to be doing so with a big disadvantage. But you will ultimately get the information you need from her when you play your final hand. What specifically do you want to know from her?
I want to know how her combatants
Mm.
got closer than anyone has ever gotten to defeating Astagoth. I could sense that there was something shady about it. There was something that was not typical for the gladiatorial combat.
She says, well, the truth of the matter is, they did defeat Astagoth, but only on a technicality. For you see, it seems there was something about my warrior's appearance or attire that was so distressing to Gesod, he automatically gave them the win in order to get them out of the arena as quickly as possible. It is a mystery. I have still not determined what he was so worried about. Perhaps it was something he was scared would embarrass him. Perhaps it was something that would interfere with his security. Perhaps he saw something in one of my combatants that he didn't want to be reminded of. I couldn't say. But if you'd like to go speak to them yourselves, you're certainly welcome to.
Lady Florence is like racking her memory to try and remember what they were wearing. And it's a blank. Like she's just remembering she was just like obsessed with the portal during that whole match and was surprised when they won by technicality, but wasn't paying any attention to what was going on, assuming that it would just be another loss.
If you're doing that, I'll give you the actual like information you need on the clue, which is, if you were there, the one thing that you recall is that was really striking and unusual at the time is that both combatants, their armor was adorned with sapphires. That's your clue.
Cool.
Let's take a 5-minute break. Mr. Constantine, once you're done with everything in the fighting arena, or at least talking with those other warriors, where do you go from there?
This is underneath the actual arena,
It
right?
is, yeah.
I think I'd like to go to the arena and see if I can find any little points of weaknesses or anything.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I like that. Go ahead and make the information move with reason.
Best stat. Oh, that's a 10. And I think because I'm doing it on my own, I get. No, it's not the night phase. Never mind. Is it the night phase?
There's no phases in this, so yeah. You get a clue. We'll come back to that. Theodora. Wait, not Theodora. Somebody said Theodora in the chat, so that's why I said Theodora. Victoria.
Yes.
What do you do when you're done in the Fragrant Void?
Well, I think that Victoria would, through some sheer ego, think, I have to talk to Tunara
Hmm.
and
Very
figure
good.
a way out of this.
Tunara has her own palace. You have a connection to Tunara. You have a interesting history with her. You can certainly head over to Tunara's palace. In what way, paint the scene, everyone, in what way is Tunara's palace almost over the top in its femininity?
Oh, it's the kind of Star Wars vista where all of the columns and towers of her palace are domed with just tiny little nipples on top. And so that looks like there is just a bunch of breasts on the horizon.
I was just thinking it would be almost HR Giger-esque in that it's very yonic, all the shapes and openings.
Tunara is really straightforward about her desires and what she's into.
Yeah, all doors are two layers of doors that open up.
I think instead of carpets, it's lace everywhere.
Oh.
Like Victorian style lace that you walk on, which gets scuffed up, and then you can see like as you walk by, like people actually like if there's a scuff mark or whatever, they roll it up, and somehow get more. So there's just this perpetual cycle of lacing.
I think you enter into the sort of public courtyard. You're seeing all this stuff, Ms. Balakwa. It's very on the nose. And what do you do?
I think to myself why I'm here. I really do need to buck myself up because this is too on the nose, and she recalls just precisely how forward Tunara is and why she was so off-putting. But instead, just smiles and adjusts her golden veil. And while I, as the player, realize that it might not be the best thing to do, Victoria thinks that this conversation is going to go very well. Walks over the lace into the opening of her palace
Mhm.
and just kind of clears her throat.
You can do the information move with composure, just as you were sort of entering and presumably looking around and things.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
It'd be a good kickoff for the scene in any case.
Not the best. Okay, well, an 8 plus 1 is a 9.
I'm going to give you a clue, and it's fairly straightforward complication. When you walk in, one of the first things you see in the inner sanctum portion of her palace is an enormous portrait of you, but you're the center of like a solar system. There's like planets orbiting you, and there's entirely too little clothing on this particular depiction, and the body model that she got for you is not your proportions, and but they did do a pretty good job with your face. But this is your clue, this portrait of you. How are you feeling about this?
Not great. It's a little bit like opening a secret door and then finding the stalker serial killer wall of
Yeah.
all of the pictures and photos that they take. It's very unnerving.
I'm going to give you a condition, which is
The
going.
ick.
I think it's gonna be something like, um, um, Tunara's obsession.
Mhm. Mhm.
What do you do?
I'm hoping that when I turn around to leave this room, that she is not standing in the doorway.
But of course she is.
Mhm.
Let's cut over to Lady Florence. Lady Florence, anything else to do in the casino?
I probably take a little bit. I don't know if I've ever eaten Venusian, so I take a little bit of Venusian and kind of hold it up to my nose and maybe like uh stick out my tongue, get a little taste of it, and I do not like it, and I just toss it into the trash while that Venusian is looking at me do all of this and walk out. And I think that it's been a while since I've visited Gesod. I know that he's ignoring and eluding me,
He's not seeing
but
people right now.
I want to poke around as close as I can get to him.
So trying to reach his inner sanctum as best you're able.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you are met in his antechamber, like you have been the past few times you've attempted this. You are met in his antechamber by his new human major domo, a one James Bartleby, a lesser peer who has relocated to Venus. And he says, Lady Florence. He has a oiled mustache, very well-fitted suit.
Bartleby, shouldn't you be scrivening somewhere?
He's like, oh, Lady Florence. Let me guess, you're still feeling a little bit discarded? Still feeling that difficult, painful urge to reclaim your status in Gesod's eyes?
I do not need status in his eyes. Or yours.
I mean, yes, it's true he gave you your own palace, but Gesod has dozens and dozens of palaces.
And how's your palace, James?
I don't have a palace. I don't need a palace. I have everything I need right here.
Does that eat at you, James?
No.
Having Gesod, having to suck at his nipples.
He says, Lady Florence, you are rather crude. I am merely at the right hand of greatness.
You'll find he's not quite as great as you believe.
Well, would you like me to put down your name somewhere, try to get you an audience in, say, 3 Venusian months?
I think it does strike Lady Florence at this point that she has done nothing to ingratiate herself to the person that she needs to ingratiate herself with. I You can put me down on your list, Bartleby.
There's no list. That was just a cruel jape, Lady Florence. There is no list. There is no list. He does not want to see you. Will there be anything
Colleague
else?
to colleague, James, perhaps I can help you avoid a similar fate.
Oh, I don't think that's anything I'm going to have to concern myself with, but he can be quite mercurial in his ways. Did you see what I did there? Mercurial.
Is that next, James?
Oh, you didn't hear it from me. A
And
bit
what's
of
going to be
insurance
your
policy would be welcome. What are your thoughts for keeping in his good graces?
what's going to be your involvement in this little invasion?
I didn't say anything. What invasion?
Truly, it will be the smallest of invasions, but I can tell you from experience that there are a few things to keep in mind if he should command you to head a planet or two away.
Oh, I see. You're going to give me advice on how not to fall into the pits that you yourself fell into to avoid making your mistakes. Is that what this is? You're so generous and kind, Lady Florence.
It's what I'm known for back on Earth, as you know.
And for this excellent and generous information, what will be required?
I don't need to get all the way in, but just get me a step closer.
Make the day move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
Um, I think that'll be locked out forever, or maybe like not can't even get to this layer, essentially.
The antechamber.
Yes. Perhaps even get pushed out of the palace. I mean, we've
Yeah.
established that Bartleby doesn't have one.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh, he gets your palace. Mm. I love it. Roll with presence.
7. Oh, 8. Not that it matters.
He says, well, Gesod is not actually here right now. But I suppose because of that, it's okay to let you roam around, to be reminded of what you've lost.
And to see all of the beautiful renovations that I'm sure that you have helped with.
Oh, yes. Indeed, indeed. And while you're taking your little tour, you can tell me where you went amiss.
Ooh, this might be interesting for Lady Florence to be truthful about the affair with the King of Mars.
Oh, very interesting. I like that. Do you want to say that to him now, or how do you want this to go?
I think it would be slipped in while we are sort of like touring the inner chambers and the changes and that
Showing
type
you
of
all
thing.
the changes he's made and all this
Mhm.
other stuff. Yeah, that's good.
And maybe there's a like some type of relic or trophy from the King of Mars in there. And so like I kind of and maybe it's Lady Florence just kind of like gets caught up in that moment, knows she needs to provide something to him, and just decides to, yeah, kind of like open up as she's reminiscing on those beautiful days on those red sand beaches.
You can have the information move with composure while you're looking around trying to find something useful.
Ooh. It's a good thing that that's a 3. It's an 8.
Okay, you'll get your clue. And we'll come back to this scene. Jakob, where do you head after you're done destroying robots? Do you want to keep searching this area since you got interrupted, or what?
Here's my thought. Tell me if this works. A little tingling in my cosmic mind. The vault, a little more open each day. I notice in the shattered mosaics as I'm kind of walking past, there's a depiction of the disintegration rays that were used to obliterate Mars, and then I kind of like through a window see another disintegration ray here on the top of one of these capitol domes, and I think like,
I
all
like
right,
that.
that disintegration ray is next. That's going down, kind of like on
Yeah.
a little destructive tear. And so stride purposefully towards that.
See if
in
you can learn
gameplay.
something about disintegration ray
Yeah, in
technology.
gameplay, I'm
Yeah.
after a clue about disintegration rays.
Yeah, I like it. I'm into it. If you just start tearing one down, are you just gonna start tearing one down and like?
I don't know.
what are
I'm
you
going to
doing
march
here?
that way and see who gets in my path, I guess, or,
Okay,
or
very good. Very
see what I
good.
can learn about how they operate.
Go ahead and make the information move with composure, as you've
All
described
right.
it.
That's just a 6. That's no good.
That is no good. Hmm. And you probably don't have. You have no more Janus Mass, don't you? Do
No,
you?
I do have the Gilded Door still, which is the Vault of the Martian Royals, and the chance to reveal that is pretty enticing.
Oh, the Gilded Door is
Oh,
available
yeah.
for you to check. Oh,
Yeah.
indeed, indeed. Well, you may not have to yet. I think what you do is I think you see that like there is I don't think it's a disintegration ray. I think it's just something that's just in that little staff that he holds, that he uses, with the little green orb on it. But you do see another green orb on top of a sort of tower-like structure outside of the palace. And that seems like as good a place as any to look around. You've seen the green orb that he carries around. Maybe there's some connection there. As you approach, I think you realize as you get close. Oh, I really want. Let me take a look at the various dangers and things. I have an idea, but I want to make sure this makes sense. Oh. You're approached by someone you did not expect to see here. I don't think you expected to see here, but nevertheless, you do see here. It's Sven, I think his name is.
Oh, the Gilfolk?
He was a Gilfolk
Yeah.
that is secretly allied with Gesod.
All right.
He'll recognize you. He hasn't seen you yet, but he's doing maintenance, just like he was at Cremorne Gardens. Yeah. What do you do?
Is he wearing Venusian livery? Is it clear he's a
I think
servant
so.
of Gesod
Yeah.
at this point?
Yeah, he is a literal servant of Gesod in this case.
Yeah. Can I tell what he's maintaining? What he's doing here?
Well, I mean, who knows? But you, if he sees you, the jig is up, and you're going to be identified.
I actually can't quite recall where we left off with Sven. I remember him from Cremorne Gardens, but I don't remember.
He was originally like supposed to be like a spy, like an inside man to Atlantis. That never quite panned out in the story so much. Now he's just here on my list of servants of Gesod, and he's on Venus.
And did he have any
being
interactions
away.
with Lady Florence that I'm forgetting?
I don't remember Lady Florence. Do you?
I
don't think
thought
so.
with you, he was a little bit. Didn't he rescue you? You were floundering around in some water, and he like did the big strong man thing. Dusted you off. Am I remembering that correctly, or making it up? Anyway,
I don't remember. But in any case, it's not good if he
He's
sees you.
All right. Goodness. Let me look at my abilities for a quick second. Sensitivity, shield. Well, how about this? Kind of see him skid to a halt, throw up the shield of Korthor in the doorway to take a different route, but then that shield of Korthor is there and people know there's a Martian on Venus.
Wait, say that again?
All right, so I throw up a shield of Korthor
Mm-hmm.
to prevent Sven from seeing me.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
I'm going to take a different path, trying to still get to this emerald glow thing.
Yeah.
that might be a disintegration ray. Because I failed the die roll essentially, and so there's got to
Yeah.
be some sort of consequence here. And I
Well,
feel like
the consequence is you having to deal with Sven. That's the consequence.
oh, okay. So my thought was like to leave the Shield of Korthor, and thus they know there's a Martian around.
Oh, no. The consequence is very simply just that you have to deal with Sven right now.
Oh,
So-
Sven's gonna see me no matter what. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought I had a chance to
Or
like.
no.
not see.
You have to deal with this. Whether if you don't want to be seen, you're gonna have to deal with it right now. That's what you're having to deal with. So
Got it.
yeah. And so if you're gonna put up the Shield of Korthor to block yourself, I think that's fine. That's a perfectly reasonable move.
And otherwise, it's just straight up murder Sven. I think is all my other options.
That's your other option as well. Yeah, but drag his body into a shrubbery.
Yeah, I feel like. All right, I can justify this in my Martian brain here. Is if you are of the people of Atlantis and you should therefore be defending Earth and protecting your home planet, to be here a confirmed servant of Gesod proves that you're not fit, that you don't, you're sort of an enemy of Mars or an enemy of Earth. I think I'm gonna try and like walk up behind him and just sort of smash his face into whatever protruding
Crenellation.
gizmo there is. Yeah.
In order to knock him out or something, or kill him.
Yeah.
Let's do the day move. What do you afraid is going to happen if you mess this up?
And I bonk him straight into the alarm system.
Okay. Very good. Go ahead and roll with vitality.
Oh my god, that's an 11 plus 2, so.
Oh, nice.
13.
I'll give you a clue as well. Go ahead and smash him in there. Your clue is not so much a clue as it is a helpful thing, which can be part of your plan, which is Sven has a set of keys, maintenance keys. You can take them.
I was about to ask, can I like smash Sven unconscious, drag him around the corner, and remove his
sure?
You put it on.
You can do that for sure, but the clue, such as it is you have Sven's keys.
Got Sven's keys. Excellent.
Yeah. Mr. Constantine, what'd you get on your die roll?
A 10.
Nice. Let's paint the scene, everyone. As Mr. Constantine is walking around the empty arena, what faded or what around here shows that this is a place of violence?
I think that Dominic, with his sort of tracker sensibilities, would be able to see that the floor of this arena isn't solid. It is full of trapdoors and spikes and different, like as you move and part the sand, you can see the edges of things that must spring out or drop down. That there are mechanisms in and of itself, the arena, that can kill you.
You can picture the Victorian Venusian equivalent of a jumbotron, so something that's futuristic, 100 years ago. Somebody's working on the display system, and it's kind of cycling through things that will be playing during later arena battles, and it's showing sort of the athlete and their prowess, like here's Mars Vuthithrex, and then it shows like the fatality where it's like he just gets disemboweled in like slow motion instant replay, like with his intestines flying out, and then it cycles to the next athlete who got destroyed and cycles to the next one, and somebody's like clicking through trying to calibrate it. You can tell off scene.
I think there are little alcoves stationed around the arena with large hooks hanging on the walls. And at the very back of these alcoves are small crematoriums, so they can just grab the body, get it in there, and not interrupt the games.
Um, it's a domed Colosseum. Um, Venus is known for its storms, and so there needs to be some protection. And it's lit by these chandeliers that hang from the ceiling, and it may not be, well, maybe to tie into the crematorium, they start the bodies flaming there, and then they hoist them up into the via the rafters. So the entire place is lit by former combatants burning as they hang from the ceiling.
It's gruesome. Your details are so gruesome today, Mike. Mike's in a certain mood right now.
It's supposed to be like very campy, and my brain
Yeah.
just keeps going to that.
Yeah, I love it. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh no, I like the gore. It's very like 70s sci-fi horror gore. Exploitation gore. Your clue is related to what Sarah said, which is one of these like killing mechanisms is located directly beneath Gesod's box. It's like a large like spear that Gesod can flip a lever to cause someone to be speared, right? And so, but it's right underneath the box. That's your clue.
Tell me if this is worth adding right now. I don't know, but I'm picturing that the tip of the spear is an Atlantean trident, like some
Oh, it's
kind
pretty good. Yeah, I like
of
that.
relic
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Earth
that's good.
Conquests.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's put everybody in time and space and then figure out what the rest of this is going to look like. So, Dom, you've managed to figure out some good stuff. Jakob, you've got a good clue item / clue, which could be helpful. Ms. Balakwa, we still have to have a scene with you and Tunara, which we'll do in a moment. Lady Florence, I owe you a clue and a conversation with Bartleby as well. So why don't we pick up with Tunara and Ms. Balakwa? Tunara is there. I'll remind you what she looks like here. She is wearing very sheer, form-fitting clothing, very, very long, pale blue hair, jeweled Venusian knife bracers on her arms. She says, "I always knew you would come find me."
I rolled a 9 on composure, so I think Victoria actually does keep it together. And in this moment, she turns around and her face does brighten. And she will run to Tunara and throw her arms around her neck and say, "At last."
Oh, very interesting. She seems almost a little surprised at your enthusiasm. And she says, "But what made you come back after all this time?"
Unfortunately, I was dealing with some family issues, and I really just needed to take some time, and I didn't realize what I had fled from when I ran from you in London, and I have spent all of this time trying to get my way back to you. It is not easy for me, even, and all the power I possess, but to try and really work out how best to travel to Venus was quite the challenge. But as you see, I am here at last.
Perhaps you would like to share the details of your journey with me over a bottle of Plutonian ice wine.
Sweet? Dry? What's the mouth feel like? And she'll just make very pleasant, very social conversations while hopefully gleaning clues in the peripheral.
Do you go back to her boudoir, her Venusian?
Yeah, I think it's an entire honeypot
chamber
situation.
Yeah, that's yeah. I think when you get to her boudoir, her room, it's like a kind of Venusian Goldfinger situation. There are beautiful women covered in metallic paint, draped all over the furniture and things like that. And she takes you in, and some Plutonian ice wine is brought. And yeah, she's going to catch up with you. You can do the information move with presence.
All right.
And it's kind of composure, but I'm going to make it, I think presence is probably the better move. And taking a look at but I do think that the Tunara's obsession will probably be a problem here, because she probably doesn't want to chat as much as she wants to
Conquer.
Exactly. So go ahead and we don't have to RP all that, but I just want to see how the die roll goes.
Okay, I rolled a 7 with, which is it, presence or composure? Plus one or
I think
two.
presence. Yeah.
So I pass.
Okay, very good.
But yes, it is complicated to try and keep her hands
yes,
from...
yeah. She's... And... Yeah, so you're just looking for info, right?
Mm-hmm.
The main thing that's going on in her life right now is that she has reconciled with Gesod.
Mm-hmm.
She's reconciled with Gesod, and she has agreed to be his heir once again. This is a basic problem that we're going to have to deal with at some point, that she could be just as bad as dad, right? The clue though is that one thing you'll notice in the room is there are lots of paintings of various things, people, women mostly, but also landscapes, bowls of Venusian fruit in various states of completion. Tunara is an artist at heart. That's your clue. She probably painted the painting of you.
Uh-huh. So in an effort to redirect the conversation, I think that Victoria would remark on just the lovely light in this particular work. Just really the shading around the areolas is so realistic.
She says, "Thank you. My father thinks that my artistic endeavors are silly and a distraction, but I find that, well, in another life, I suppose, I might have been a different person. Perhaps I would just spend my days painting and sculpting, releasing, revealing."
Victoria will drag her fingers across her cheek and look into her eyes deeply and say, "But surely you have to follow your passions," and lean in to kiss her.
Very good. Oh, this is getting even more complicated, since I do owe you a further complication a little bit. I think she says, "I want you to be my guest in my father's box," which is not really a complication at all. It's actually kind of a bonus, except it puts you in a place where maybe you won't be helpful for the rest of it, or maybe you will be. Who knows?
Or that the invitation's now and could very easily be receded.
That's true. That's true as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have longed to be by your side for so long now that I could not think of anywhere else I would rather be. Fade to the interior.
Indeed. Lady Florence, you're roaming around the inner sanctum of Gesod. There's no one around. Bartleby's there. He's pointing out different things, and um, uh, little adjustments he's made. Let's paint the scene, everyone. As Bartleby is showing Lady Florence around the inner sanctum, Gesod's inner sanctum, what do we see that shows Bartleby's changes to the inner sanctum indicate that Bartleby has got it real bad for Gesod?
There's a painting of Gesod with a little less clothing of him floating out in space with planets behind him of all of the ones that he's conquered, and you can see like a half done Mercury, as if maybe even Bartleby has commissioned this work.
It's subtle, and really no one would notice this except Bartleby, but there are mirrors in the wall, and they've been just slightly angled, like there's like a little piece of cork or something behind them, so that if you're serving or working at a certain point, you can get a reflection and see a view of Jasad, like kind of no matter where you're at in the room, there's a way to see Jasad's throne and to see Jasad from some flattering angle, but it's like just this subtle thing where it's behind the frame, nobody would notice.
I think in the intricately carved like baseboards and railings, you could almost dismiss it as anything else, just patterning, but if you know what you're looking for, it clearly just says B plus G, B plus G, just endlessly repeating.
There's one of these pneumatic tubes that is used for like garbage disposal, and it hasn't been emptied, but it's been loaded up, and we can see that they're just like folded notes. And we can probably read some text that's like, if there's anything at all that you need from me, let me know. B. Uh, lots of little things like that that have been crumpled up and thrown into this pneumatic tube.
Oh, Bartleby. He's going showing you all the changes and all the things he's done and all the different things going on. He's kind of going around. I owe you a clue. The clue, as he's giving you the tour, take a look at my notes. As he's giving you the tour, you see a glass case with more of those glowing orbs, but in different colors in the case. That's your clue. He says, and here's where you can tell him your story if you wish.
So,
he says, so the falling out.
Are you thinking that this glass case with the glowing orbs, this is connected, this is the thing that's connected to the King of Mars, or unrelated to that?
Oh no, that's just your clue. You can do whatever you want
Okay,
with that.
okay.
The King of Mars thing, you can work that in however you want to.
Okay. I think maybe hanging above that is this just this stone spear, I guess. Just kind of like pointed stick essentially, but it's made of red stone. It's clearly from Mars, and there's maybe ornate carvings in it and that type of thing. And like I reach up my hand and run it across the length of this thing. And I say, my slip was not during the invasion of Mars. It was in the lead up to it. I found someone better than Gesod. And we spent a great deal of time and a great deal of intimacy with each other. And I turn to Bartleby, and he's been nipping at me this entire time. I see all of these notes and that type of thing. Uh, and I look him dead in the eyes as sternly, and maybe this is a bluff from Lady Florence's standpoint, but as sternly as I've ever looked anybody in the eyes, and I say, we both want the old man's attention back again, don't we? So why don't we up the stakes? And I pull out dueling pistols, and I say, either way this ends up, we will both definitely have his attention. With the idea being that if whichever one of whichever one of us dies, Gesod is going to notice, right? And
Hmm.
if I'm hoping that Bartleby is intrigued by this because he also has the opportunity to kill this thorn in Gesod's side, at least from his perception.
Yeah, because probably Jasad hasn't forgotten about you like Bartleby claims, right? Bartleby's
Right.
probably wish projecting a
Yep.
little bit here. Yeah.
So there's a way, whether for him it's tragic or heroic,
Mhm.
I'm giving him kind of like bait and making him sort of project his own feelings onto me.
What are you
And
hoping to accomplish with this gambit, though?
to get rid of him and to essentially like have free reign of this room for a bit.
Oh, I see. Okay, very good. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I'm into that.
For what it's worth, I mean, just to set up the information on the roll here, I'm going to be using a set of dueling pistols, one of which fires back at the shooter. I definitely don't know which, or they even do that.
Day move. What do you afraid is going to happen if this goes poorly?
The pistol that I have either backfires and shoots me as well as Bartleby shooting me, and I'm definitely out of commission, or simply that
Bartleby
Bartleby,
shoots you.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I love it. Wow, I don't even know what I guess it's composure. Composure is, I guess, the only stat that
sure.
makes sense here. Let's take a look at your. Do you have any? You didn't have any conditions, so yeah, composure. Is this an item you're going to mark as well?
Yeah, I will mark
Oh,
this
okay,
item.
for advantage.
And that's 11.
Nice. Success. Go ahead and describe it.
Um, yeah, I think James, like you can see that twinkle in his eye as he's like processing it. He's shocked that this is being offered at first, but like, yeah, all that mental math is like, oh, this is a way that I make a mark regardless. And he kind of gets this grin. And he says, but you may have these rigged, so I get to choose first, don't I? And she goes, yes, of course. Check it out all you want. And so they both grab these pistols, and he determines that, yeah, everything's kind of in order. And we do the whole like classic Victorian duel thing back to back, uh, walking away and then turn and point our pistols at each other. And I think he's known for being like a pretty quick draw, but we both draw our pistols and are aiming them and are reluctant to pull them for some reason as we like look at each other. And finally, he just kind of smirks and pulls the trigger, and it does backfire right into his shoulder. And he looks down and he looks at me. You bitch. And then I pull my trigger and pop him right in the head.
I'm going to go ahead and just give you a clue without a further information move. Um, because you'll have killing him, I think, is enough justification for just looking around the room free of him. The one clue you're going to get is that there is a tapestry in pride of place that shows Gesod's family tree. That's your clue. No, you can add whatever context you need whenever it gets time to answer a question, but that's the clue as it stands. Speaking of clues, how many do we have now in total?
Looks like 10.
10. That's a pretty good number to start answering and resolving some of these situations. Do we want to take a quick break so you can all think about some solutions? Remember, you got to make these clues stretch out over several questions. So.
Well, and we also have to answer those questions in order, which I think is what
I'm
struggling with most at the moment. So yeah,
because you have to make a decision about like how much to spend on one roll, right? And then and then like depending on how that roll goes, you might lose some hunters in the middle of it, right? Which could complicate, like the future like resolutions. And so the resolutions could get complicated depending on how the die rolls go.
Let me ask, once we start in the cycle, are we going down it, or can we pause?
No, you'll do it and then flash back. So
okay.
Right. So basically you always flash forward to do the thing and then you'll flash back into like to where you're at. So let's take 10. Okay. You have to answer the questions in order and resolve them in order. The first is, what is the weakness of Astagoth the Star Devourer? Who has a thought?
We don't know what it looks like yet. Is that a thing you can reveal? We
nope.
need to know that.
Nope.
Mike brought up an interesting question while we were off camera, and why don't you go ahead, Mike?
Because the only time Lady Florence would have seen Astagoth was when the fight never happened, because the fight was ended on a technicality. It was just disqualification.
That is true. Mechanical question: can I use mastermind clues as the explorer for these questions?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You can. Yeah, absolutely.
They don't necessarily fit very well, but it gives us a nice pool of
I don't see
potential.
why not. I mean, I'm trying to think like I guess I can't remember how it's written. There's
nothing in the move that would preclude it.
Yeah. I mean, except that I guess the only thing that would kind of like preclude it, such as it is just that like the threshold's been met and the mastermind clues have been used in that regard, but they're still there. So if you have any unused ones, I'm open to it. Yeah, for sure. Because some of them did get used previously.
So we were talking about clue economy and pairing up from all of these clues, ones we like more for one question versus another. So like Astagoth touching multiple black pillars at the same time in the fragrant void seems like it's a clue that would go to defeating him, but in reality, Mike came up with a different suggestion that we could use it to try and bypass the force field, that by learning how to multiple places or somehow disrupting it or not having to interact with it at all.
Then you have to defeat him some other way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whatever he is, he's the kind of entity that can exist in multiple places at once, right?
Yeah, planar creatures. Yay. Mm-hmm. So then the subsonic hum that I was listening to in the void during that same realization, I see how that clue might be used again to combat Astagoth, but also maybe this disintegration ray is somehow sonic and interfering in a different way. So that's where we were in the answer a question portion of our theorizing.
You're all just going to make some decisions and what clues you're going to use for what, and get some dice rolled and see how it's going to go. And we're going to do these rolls on the trophy roller because I want the suspense of us all seeing the results at once. There we go. I'll make us a little trophy room. So yeah, first question. Who wants to make a theory here?
I'm game for winging it at any point. So if somebody feels comfortable with something up front, roll with it.
Yeah, what I like about this is your characters may not even know this is what they're doing until they're thrust into the middle of this like arena situation and they have to just remember all the things they've observed and in the moment figure it out. That's kind of what this is supposed to feel like, right? It's a little bit like planning a heist, but like if you didn't know what the outcome of the heist was, right?
So there was discussion of the slugger mastermind clue. Did we use that previously or is it unchecked? I don't see it on my thing.
I think the ones that got used are in italics.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right, so then it's not used.
So the mastermind clue is... There it is. Gesod attempts to kill the slugger in gladiator combat previously. And so could it be that while Dominic was watching the slugger fight, was it Karnak or Tarnak? I don't remember which.
That was
twin.
Tarnak, yeah.
Yeah. That somehow that gleans him some insight into this combat now in fighting Astagoth.
I think if you decide that Dominic is the one who's going to be fighting Astagoth, yeah, I think that can be used as a clue. Like it's just a general sort of like insight into Gesod's like theatricality, and
Is only one of us fighting Astagoth?
I don't know. That's for you all to decide.
Okay.
I think at the beginning,
would
I think at the beginning of this, you're all
absolutely
going to have to say
volunteer.
where you're all at, right? So when it all starts getting live and going hot.
My instinct is that Bullock was in the shit with the rest of you. I know that she's not a subtle, like she's not quite as blunt as Tunara is, but there's no way that I keep up this honeypot situation without stepping in some shit and getting in trouble. So I feel like my smartassery is going to rescind that box invitation.
So you're not going to take the invitation.
I think I'm going to be cast down into the pit.
So all four of you are going to be in the pit then?
Oh, would it?
That's fair.
I have a visualization, and Sarah, if you don't like it, don't do it. But like, you're in the box with Tunara, but there's like the trapdoor lever, and the chair goes ka-chunk, and zoop, you slide into the arena at some point.
Jabba the Hutt style, you get dropped into the arena. Oh wow!
God, and she's got me dressed up like Princess Leia. It's bad. It's bad.
And I could see that Lady Florence wasn't supposed to be in there as well, but with the murder of James Bartleby, I think Lady Florence is Gesod's like top suspect.
Yeah, you got arrested, got thrown in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I am, thrown in. And maybe that's when he's talking about the assassination attempt. He is thinking that I was going to kill him.
Yeah. I think it's all coming together for him, right? Like I think he kind of realizes who Miss Balakwa is, because before Gesod had never met Miss Balakwa, right? So he realizes who Miss Balakwa is. He throws her into the pit. You're already in the pit. Dom, it sounds like you want to be there because you want to be there. And Jakob, where are you?
Yeah, I've got a question about me. I've got some kidnapped Venusian livery.
Yeah, you could be sneaking around. Yeah.
It might have a little Eau de Gilfolk on it. It might smell a little briny, which might reveal, like, my absence of gills might prove that this is not my uniform. But I can also picture me kind of doing the, like, let me pour you some more wine, Gesod, kind of.
Yeah, well, I like the idea. If you want to be like kind of like behind the scenes, I think that's a good idea probably for making all these resolutions happen. So somebody has to be like, doing something that is gonna, that's not just combat at some point. Right. So I think that's all great. So what's the weakness of Astagoth?
Do you want me to float the sapphires and trident thing? Or are you all saving that for something else?
No, I like that. And that it's underneath his throne, sort of as the final kill switch. Like, should Astagoth ever revolt against him, he's got this mechanism prepared.
Ooh,
And
I just had a thought for the next question. If we can defeat Astagoth like impressively, one of us could get invited up to the box where we could use the control for the spear and the sapphires to disrupt the force field.
Yeah, I think the position of the spear is probably really important, right? If you were like gonna like sabotage that in some way or whatever, because it's basically like a little space beneath the box, right? One tricky thing about the clue where you get to go meet Gesod is he will, before we reach that point, he knows who you are. He's not going to bring you inside his safe little.
For the sake of the conspiracy, and if Victoria knows as part of the plan, I am happy to stay by Tunara's side if I know that there are like mechanisms. I have to like, if we're plotting ahead of time,
Yeah.
I'm fine if that's there.
Yeah.
And then I have my heel turn and then
Yeah.
we can go from there. But yeah, for that first round, that seems to make sense if somebody's up there to actually pull the lever if we're going to use it.
So you're up there then, and Jakob is roaming around in maintenance uniform. And so Dom and Lady Florence have been tossed into the arena. This makes sense because the two of you have a blood sport past. I think this is a big ironic, an ironic outcome for the two of you.
I want to like add something here again, like this is being mechanical about like how these types of threats roll out. We should not skimp on the first roll
Yes. More clues. More clues is better.
because several of us only have one mark to give. So that means we only get one
You only get one
change
go at it.
of the
Yeah.
result. So
Yeah.
it's better for us to throw more up front and then pull back as we go.
That's probably wise. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think that was y'all good with me using the sapphire here, or are we really connected to the okay? So the thing I was thinking about with the sapphire on those previous combatants
Mhm.
is that might have something to do with how the trident is triggered.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That it's sort of like Ben had mentioned, like it's about the, or maybe Sarah, the reflection of light off of the sapphire.
Hmm.
Um,
Spear, right? What trident?
the spear, yeah, whatever
The spear thing underneath the box, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
The killing trap.
Mhm.
And so that's why, like, when Gesod saw that, he recognized, like, oh, that could trigger the one thing that I know will kill Astagoth at any point.
Why is
And
it sapphire specifically that does it?
I think it's like the reflection of light in the same way that the blue light is what triggers it. So it's a
Oh,
very
interesting.
specific like light spectrum type of thing. So maybe it's even like we don't have to use the ring on this, but maybe even like he's got a sapphire ring that he uses, kind of holds up, and a light bounces and he can bounce it into the right keyhole kind of thing.
I guess my question is why wouldn't he just pull a lever? why would he go through all this like strange
He loves
trouble?
style. And
I don't
When I was
think
talking
I'm not convinced
about-
of the sapphire thing.
all right.
When I was talking about the reflective light earlier, I was talking about it doesn't have to be the color of the sapphire. If Astagoth, the Star Destroyer, Devourer, whatever, maybe they're devouring stars because of, the light they produce, prefers darkness. And so Gesod was worried that the reflective surfaces casting light from these combatants would disorient or somehow prevent Astagoth from seeing and fighting effectively because it is a photosensitive creature. And I don't know. That's what I was talking about with the reflective light, but it's a stretch.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you know how
touching black
with
pillars.
with chickens, you can like draw a line on the ground and they are mesmerized.
Oh yeah.
What
Yeah.
if we don't have to defeat Astagoth by killing it? We can just sapphire light it into
Oh,
dormancy.
it gets dazzled easily.
Yep.
Right.
Oh.
By
It's
blue
like
light.
yeah. So it's just like, I mean, I kind of like the idea of Astagoth is just like easily dazzled by the bejeweled armor of the combatants. Like that's what Gesod was worried about. Is like, I can't let people know how easy it is to defeat Astagoth. Yeah,
This
like
devourer of
yeah,
God.
like Astagoth, like we can't let Astagoth likes the shiny, exactly. That is
And
more plausible, I think, to me. Yeah.
if we dazzle him at the right moment or in the right position within the arena, then the thing will be aimed at him.
And I pull the lever.
And then they can kill him. Oh yeah, good. Oh yeah. Okay, so then if we're taking a look at clues spent, then that gives you the sapphire one, the killing trap one. Any others, or you want
Counting the black pillars as a sense that it prefers a lack of dazzling light.
I think the real key to that clue is the fact that Astagoth exists in multiple realities at once.
Could we say that one of Sven Gilfolk's keys is the key to or there's a key because he would have to do maintenance on the killing trap thing, the large spear.
Give you control of the trap to spring it when you
Yeah,
want. Oh,
yeah.
that's pretty good. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
there's also a glass case full of glowing orbs in unusual colors that we could reinvest that in the dazzlement of Gesod having in his own palace.
Yeah, because you don't have any sapphires, so maybe those glowing orbs might be the thing you can deploy. Yeah, that's
I
pretty
was
good.
thinking the keys could maybe open up like an impound locker where this armor with the sapphire was taken after it was after the match was called.
Well, I don't know though, because I think like Verini probably, like, I think that would probably give up the game. She didn't know why her guys won automatically, right? I think Gesod was clearly trying to keep that under wraps, right? I think the glass orbs, the keys giving you access to actually spring the trap, the existence of the trap itself just being, the way to kill it, and then the dazzling, those 4 clues feel pretty solid. That feels like a pretty solid answer to me. Dazzle it, trigger the trap, kill Astagoth, right? That feels pretty straightforward. I have put a die roller in the chat if anybody wants to roll on the die roller. You'll do a 2 die risk roll here. See how it goes. +2, or we'll add 2.
Do we have a way to utilize the Gesod attempts to kill the slugger in gladiatorial combat mastermind clue here? We had initially talked about that.
Maybe Dom could use that to like, we know what Gesod wants to see in a fight. Maybe Dom can showboat a bit to
Showboat a
distract
little bit.
from all
Yeah,
this
that's good.
again.
Oh,
That's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. So you've got a
Do we
+3
wanna-
now. Yeah.
Do we want to keep it at a +3 or walk it back to a +2? Because those keys could be very useful in other.
We only have one failure across
I
4
understand.
rolls.
Okay.
That only leaves us with
Fine.
6.
But I'm still not rolling it.
We can always get more
can-
clues though.
Yeah, we can.
That's
Oh,
true.
okay.
Yeah. You don't have to like. This doesn't have to be the end. This is just this one resolution. So, who's
Do we want to
rolling it?
just go left to right across the keeper? It's 4 questions, 4 players.
All right. Dun, 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 dun. Do I roll this as risk? How do you want me to?
Yeah,
do I
just a risk 2 is fine.
Okay,
Risk
okay.
2 light.
Ah, what have I done? Oh no. I have closed the thing.
The die
All right.
roller. Oh,
The tab. I'll send a ticket over to GT. All right. 1, 2, Here we go. Oh God.
Okay, well, it's a
4
good
plus
thing,
3 though.
it's a good thing you had that extra, right? Yeah,
Yep.
that's good. That means the fight is going to be really hard, and also you were given an extra disadvantage, Dominic, that you weren't prepared for, that Lady Florence had to agree to because of her bet with Verini. So it turns out you're blindfolded, Dominic, during the combat. So you don't even see what you're facing. But Lady Florence, you do. Gesod has given you his speech, Lady Florence. And the gate raises, and we see Astagoth, the Star Devourer. It is a pretty classic Lovecraftian horror situation. A large, inky black blob with pseudopods and tentacles coming off of it. But importantly, it has no like apparent eyes or mouth. It just kind of rends people in two. What it does have is images of its previous victims, maybe even like in ancient times it was much bigger, like planets that it destroyed. They like these people like press forward through the membrane, the thick black outer membrane, and they just like press forward, and they pull that sort of membrane taut, and they just sort of wriggle around and scream in terror, and then they recede back into it. And this happens. You see repulsion style arms and hands, stretching out at Catherine Deneuve. You see faces, pressing forward and screeching, and this thing just roils forward. And yet it is dazzled to some degree by shinies. We don't know why, but it is. Dominic, you can't see any of that. You're blindfolded. But that's okay, because you just have to like make this last long enough to trigger the trap on it. Let's do this scene, and then that'll probably be our session for today. So what do we think? Who wants to kick off here? I think probably Dom, you're making the roll, but I'm just curious what Lady Florence is doing.
Yeah, I think you kind of see Lady Florence do this sort of like nervous, like trying to make fists, but fingers are and also just sort of like getting the feel again for like we've been in this situation fighting like big crazy monsters before. What was that like? It's been a while. And I think Lady Florence just starts barking orders at Dom. We can't really see Dom's expression from underneath the blindfold, but I assume that he's annoyed as and maybe she even like claps a little bit and it's kind of like, Dom, Dom, now it's time to do the thing.
I think Dom is
what are you doing?
walking around with his arms up, trying to get a chant of 2 arms, 2 arms.
Oh yeah, get a little chant going. That's good. Love all that. Dom, this is going to be the night move. It's going to be at disadvantage unless you can counterbalance it with something. What are we doing here?
I don't think any of my remaining items will help me out here.
You're going to be rolling with vitality, and all you have to do is just keep alive long enough to lure the thing over to the trap, which will spring and kill it. So.
Right. So vitality and disadvantage. That would be a 5 plus 3 is 8.
8. Yeah. I think I have to make this extra difficult for you because of your initial answer a question roll. Victoria, you are responsible for triggering the trap. You have access to it. We have to figure this out. I think that like
so I'm in the box, and I've got like the gold veil, and Tunara has dressed me in gold other harem wear, and I'm doing the like lean on the back of her throne chair. And so by draping my arm over her, I could actually reach the lever to pull or to trigger this trap.
Oh,
But
okay,
it's
good.
the timing of it, right? I'm trying not to hit Dom, who can't see where he is, in order to get the Star Destroyer, or excuse me, the
Star
Devourer,
yeah.
right moment.
So, Jakob, I'm curious about this. I think that maybe this spear wouldn't normally kill the Star Devourer by itself, which is where you came in with your mechanical tinkering the last day or two. What did you do to this spear to make it particularly destructive, to ensure that it kills Astagoth?
Oh, interesting.
Is the spear is it your Martian spear instead, possibly?
That's interesting. I was thinking like about the like I have had for a while that Venusian holy text, like is there a way to inscribe runes or something, but am I that fluent in
It's just
Venusian
English.
cosmology or whatever? Sorry, looking at my various things here. Is it possible to say that I had some time to kind of rework it with my knowledge of the javelin of Jajatar,
Yeah,
kind
I like
of,
that. Yeah.
reforming, I don't know, from a this shape to a that shape or something.
Yeah, so it's actually the javelin of Jajatar that, because it's like a lightning thing, right? It like kind of electrocutes it as it hits him, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, just like shaping it to something that fits a different morphology. We don't know. We haven't established if Astagoth is from Venus or from some other galactic realm, but maybe through my disparate knowledge of Martian anatomy, Venusian anatomy, Earth anatomy, there's a bit of like filing down the tip to make it like, all right, this is going to penetrate the hide.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I see. The javelin of Jajatar screams through the sky. Oh, I was thinking of the
normally it's
sword of
thrown.
Thantis. The sword of Thantis is
Yeah.
the lightning one.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So the javelin of Jajatar will actually. Oh, this is actually pretty good, because I think instead, so normally I think the thing would just like pop out and like kill the combatant, right? Probably some cruel thing of his. This will actually cause it to launch, right? Like a javelin to kill Astagoth. I think that's pretty good. I like that. This is on you though, Ms. Balakwa, to get the lever pulled. What do you afraid is going to happen if you get seen?
Oh, goodness. Tunara showed me what passes for sushi around these parts. That's really where my fear lies at the moment.
I don't know if it gets any worse than that. You can go ahead and roll with composure. I'm putting you at disadvantage because Tunara's got her eyes on you.
Yeah. Okay, and a 6, and a 5.
Oh, very good. Nice.
I'm like whispering something in her ear at the moment. I reach over and I think Dom is about to. Nope, he's tripped. I whack the lever.
Nice. And whoever wants to describe the creature being killed by this sacred, by the javelin of Jajatar, essentially flying out of this trap, do so.
Dom, I feel like you're fighting it. You should describe it. I can't see it, so I feel it's your spirit.
Which is funny that you're describing without vision.
All right. I think that Dom is doing his best to kind of showboat and avoid these tentacles and limbs, and
two
probably
arms.
And he's loving that. And every time Lady Florence tries to shout out advice, he just purposely does the other thing to annoy her. And it's working out more or less, but he trips, and I think he's going to try and roll like he did it on purpose, And it just so happens that as he does, Astagoth is going to lunge into position, which is when Victoria hits the switch, and the sand parts quickly as these trapdoors open, and this spear just comes flying out and nails Astagoth right in that strange projection screen of a face.
I love it. There's a wailing, the wailing of thousands of victims across the dimensions from the time when Astagoth was a titanic creature capable of destroying stars to now a reduced creature, but still very deadly creature that just destroys gladiators. This wailing breaks free as Astagoth is torn apart by the power of the sacred Martian javelin. And that's when Gesod knows he has underestimated you, Lady Florence. And that's where we'll end our session there.
Can I throw a quick thing in?
Please do.
That Jumbotron I described earlier,
Yeah.
it had been displaying images of Dom with possible fatalities. Like, is he going to get ripped in half?
Oh,
Is he be absorbed? Is he going to be bashed against a spike wall? And then in the moment when Dom essentially, with Lady Balakwa's timing, defeats the beast, it just sort of goes like technical difficulties. They had no plan to.
They had no plan.
Astagoth dying. That's just not going to
being killed.
happen. The graphics not ready.
I love it. It's great. Let's go to Stars and Wishes. Stars and Wishes for our high camp sci-fi adventure. That's the way it always had to be with Gesod, I fear. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
I'll go. My notes, Jason, the title card openings and then just revealing it as a flashback and a flash forward. I thought that was such a great framing of this this mystery, and also it kind of avoided the problem of trying to pick up where we left off. It doesn't matter. This is a TV special. It doesn't matter what happened last episode.
Yeah, it's a
You get
Christmas special.
the idea.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And also the structure of this mystery and the way that you formatted it is really cool, and I like it very much. Mike, this was always going to be about Pigor, and I love that little dude. For the short time we got him, I'm glad we introduced that aspect of Mock.
He shone bright, didn't he?
but so brief. Also, yeah, I love Lady Florence, and I love the gambling problem coming up again, and it just felt like a great episode of Lady Florence isms. Brian, Jakob going full vengeful Superman, and that's for my aunt, and just that was so good. And when you described him as doing that kind of prototypical Superman pose with his hands on his hips, perfect. Victoria laying it on super duper thick with Tunara was a huge star for me. And also just, yeah, the way you just, I love the way you describe Victoria's adventures in the Fragrant Void. And so I'm glad we got to see a bit of that. And yeah, it was really great to get back to this and play with you all again.
Do you have wishes?
Yes, I want to see just absolute mayhem next session, just chaos.
I have a star for I thought everyone did really great with Paint the Scene today. Paint the Scene was doing a lot of work because I didn't write a bunch of descriptions of places, and so I was happy that Paint the Scene really filled in the details on all these places you were visiting on Venus. They were all, the answers were really good, and it inspired me to like how to run the scene as well. So that was really fun. A lot of the same things that Ben said, I really I also really liked the pig. That was so random and out of nowhere, but it also like kind of, in some sense, it was like if we were watching the TV show, we'd be like, okay, we can see where this is going. Like, yeah, like none of the rest that follows would like be out of place once you kick off with Pigor. Um, I do like this tone. It's so camp and it's so over the top. It's still obviously mechanically it's still kind of fundamentally the between, but in a lot of ways. But we're very much like not in London anymore, and I think that's a lot of fun. It's interesting because I just listened to the last session in preparation for this because it had been so long, and that actually felt like the end. That last session, this feels like a truly like a bonus episode in some sense, and so it almost feels like the writers were like let off the leash to do whatever they want to do, and like here we are. Like so. But it was good fun. I'm happy that we were able to do a lot of like thematic callbacks to the main campaign. I mean, like the gambling thing, the Ms. Balak was like really like kind of interested in complex history with some of the side characters in the story. Came out in some good ways. Love, we've been seeing this over the course of the whole campaign. We saw this like gradual transformation of Jakob, and like this felt like the sort of ultimate like Jakob thing, like truly has left Wales behind in some sense. And yeah, it was really fun to have Dom back. I think Aiden will obviously be the sort of person who eventually picks up the pieces at Hargrave House if we ever do another series for this one. But for now, it was nice to have Dom back and doing what Dom does. And yeah, I guess one wish I have connected to that is I am curious what's going on with the Slugger right now. Is he just back in London, like doing whatever he's doing? Um, and yeah, just really excited that we're getting to wrap this up, and excited that we're having this big splashy conclusion to what was a very splashy campaign in a lot of ways. And curious to see how it goes, and who survives till the end as well. Like, which of these characters, like, are any of these characters going to die in the arena? I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Okay. I'm gonna keep the stars really quickly and focus on wishes actually. But yeah, I think just because my stars echo everyone else's, I also think it's fun that there's Extraordinary has always had a little bit of a Planet Raygun vibe to it. And what I think is funny when you introduced the series of questions, I was like, oh, this is like Planet Raygun high structure in the between right now. Like this is fun. So that kind of like
I was
I
definitely
lit up
nodding
a
to
bit.
that. Yeah, I was definitely nodding to that. Yeah, I didn't have time
Um,
to like do a full proper like PRG like scenario, but I wanted to kind of
yeah.
touch on it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that this works like perfectly for what the amount of time that we're spending on it for what, yeah, we're not repeating the same structure over and over again. And so like this is beautiful and fun to see play out. And then of course the star for Dom being back because we all love Dom. My wish I think is similar to Jason's wish on like Dom's front of like what happened to the slugger and like because the drama queen nature of Dom is part of why we love him, and I really want to see how that transfers into like this world or this planet and this like plot thread that we're on. Of course, wish for Jakob and um, how do you get your revenge? Like you have blood in your eyes now and are like full force forward. And I think like all of this just sort of like ushering and opening up for vengeance is really interesting, and I'm very excited to see how that forms. And then Victoria, the whole thing with Tenera, I am here for it, and I want to see like when we get to that final question, how your like spooky dark magic might interweave into that, and again like this like the sort of like blending of that sort of like gothic between side with the sort of like ray gun gothic side of things. And then from Lady Florence's perspective, just burning every resource that I have down right on the edge. And I'm kind of anticipating her dying and wishing for it with all of these roles, but I also have this goal of like burning through all the resources. So every role is very daring and exciting for me, and I hope that that continues.
I have a few specific stars and a few specific wishes. Dom, all of that's up in the under arena with the sobriquet nonsense was really like so tonally on point for him, and it felt so good to just be housed in that character for you again. I liked to see it, so nice and lovely. Karnak and Tarnak, I love us. The callbacks are definitely on point, and the fact that we're even mechanically allowed to pull one or two of those mastermind clues again into this zany scenario.
I do have
like
to actually address, like, I at some point, I think that's something I've made a note to myself because I think this is something in the rules I'm gonna have to address. Like,
Yes,
do the
probably.
unused mastermind clues get to be used in the mastermind threat? I don't know yet. Probably not, if I'm being honest, but it's okay for this. So,
for
yeah.
our zany adventure.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
we
fine.
do.
Yeah.
There was a moment where Jason, you were discussing the murals, and it was a propagandist poem. It was a lovely bit of alliteration. Just love your work. Happy to be back to this. The medals of honor, Brian, that you put on the 894 and the other robots, and that's how you knew that they had killed Martians. That was just a lovely bit of flavor. I like the idea of robot honor medals, and that whole concept is just really funny to me. Yeah, Mike, I made a passing comment to Venusian sushi, but yeah, that was colorful, my friend. That really painted a lot of Tunara's forwardness in a different light for Lady Balakwa too, which was just fun to play through. And Sven, the intergalactic maintenance man, also hilariously good callback. And
Star, before I forget, star for Tunara's heavy metal magazine palace.
Yeah.
Like...
That did happen. Paint the Scene was working really hard today. And then Brian, to see it, like Jakob's whole menagerie collecting, trying to rehabilitate everything he comes in contact with, that switch into, well, no, now I can fix things, and him taking actions and maybe taking after his mother a little bit too much, from, like those sorts of details that are starting to get resolved, and those threads coming to fruition is fun to see too, and I look forward to that. Wishes, I have a mask, and that's it. That's I'm very excited to see how Victoria bites it, because I've yet to have an actual character death in one of Jason's campaigns, so I'm really excited to kill her. And I've got some ideas on how that might play into Tanara and the rest of it, so it's exciting. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Like, for those of you who are aiming for like dramatic ends to your character, there's a lot of like natural places for each of the characters for that to take place, right? Like, it's definitely something to think about, for sure.
Well, and a star to that fact, because you structured the threat in such a way in which we have to answer multiple questions, and that like sky high percentage of failure really caps that off.
Yeah, and it's one, and my hope was that like it also creates like a lot of space. There's lots of different spaces for your dramatic end to happen, right? It's like what if you got 4 shots at like like the most like satisfying dramatic ending, right? Like where would you put it, So
Let me dive in before I forget. This question of can you use unused mastermind clues? I've got an idea that I think would be interesting, that there should be some character archetype in the between, sort of a Sherlock Holmesian thing that can once per threat, grab any unused clue from a prior threat
Oh,
and apply it
that's
to
kind of
kind of
interesting.
like bring a
Yeah,
tidiness to
yeah,
all the stories, a little bit of
yeah.
foreshadowing, like, oh, that thing that we saw that seemed unrelated is actually related.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
Um, Stars. I'm really glad that Miss Balakwa and Sunara have I don't know, had a chance to reunite and you know, flirt a bit. The sexy nature of her tempo. I did some doodles that
Oh no!
uh
Did you draw Tunara's palace?
they're these were quick and on the fly, but like there's a little like sort of beach architecture. And then the disintegration ray, I didn't hold back. It's a rather phallic disintegration ray on the it's at the dome of another temple a little bit there, and then I threw the emerald structure in the middle. So we just went full blown like Boris Viejo would be proud of.
Yeah, yeah, that's truly what it is, right? Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what else do we have for stars? Oh, the Venusian food. It's interesting. Like, I don't know that we've touched on sort of Venusian culture that much and how it brought itself into London earlier. And so it's interesting to kind of start thinking out like what the Venusian culture is and what we don't like about it and why we dislike them so much. Um, really glad to see Dom back. My mental picture is the slugger is like sitting beachside, sipping from some, coconut, and like looks over and the beach chair's empty. Like, you were there a minute ago. What happened?
He's over at Brighton. Just
Yeah. And what else? Wishes. I know Mike has a plan to sort of burn through all items, and I'm really glad the dueling pistols finally got used because those have been there, I think, since the beginning of the campaign, if I remember right. So looking forward to seeing those get annihilated. And I wish this is sort of a retcon thing. I wish I had thought through a little more of my own Martian family lineage, so that in the scene bashing the robots, like I could have been like naming my aunt, and she had a farm on Mount Tholis, and like I could have like run that out for a good 3 minutes of Martian rage. I should have planned that out a little deeper.
Any other stars and wishes?
Tiny star for Mike and his wanting to exhaust every checkbox on his character sheet because he's
Mark
giving
every
me
box
shade
on
in
the
the
sheet. Yeah.
he's giving me shade in the chat about how many Victoria's items are in her personal quarters. I'm like, yeah, she collected a lot of stuff and then unchecked it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about that advancement actually, because it's not such a big deal for the more smaller scale CFB games, but it can be a bit much in between, I find, in terms of like power creep, like unmarking a huge number of like personal quarters items. It's one of the things I'm going to address whenever we do the final version of this game.
I often find myself to be the cautionary tale when play testing any game, so
Yeah.
I can contribute in any way.
I mean, it's a fairly minor point, but it's something that there's a lot of like revising that I'm going to do when we do the crowdfunded version of this game. Okay, well, that was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we're back to it. I'm going to wave goodbye to everybody watching the video for now. Goodbye, everyone watching the video for now.